Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the November 12th, 2024 Virtual Retirement Town Hall. We're so glad to have you all on with us today. I'm Josh Black, APFA National Secretary and moderator for today's session. We did take a break from these at the end of, due to the end of negotiations and everything that was going on with that. Our last one was in April, and we're really glad to be kicking this back off again today. Today, we're going to be going over some very general retirement information, such as where to start, what to plan for, and other helpful information. We have a full presentation for you today. It's also Medicare enrollment time. So for those of you who are going through that process, we'll go over information for that as well and address any questions that you may have. And with the passing of the 2024 collective bargaining agreement came a new RHRA. So we have some information regarding that, and we'll also address any questions that you have. Speaking of questions, if you have questions that come to mind during the town hall, please feel free to use the chat feature and submit questions for us to address. Before I hand it over to our retirement specialists, I'm going to point you guys to the APFA website and show you where you can find some helpful information. So on your screen, you should see let's see, make sure you guys can see it. All right, so here is the APFA website, apfa.org. For those of you using a mobile device, it'll look like this. You can hit the little hamburger at the top, and under resources, there is a retirement page. So you'll click that. If you're using a desktop or a tablet, it'll look like this. Under resources, you have retirement, and you'll click on that. So the retirement page, we have a lot of different sections you can scroll through. It corresponds with the information that we're going through today. We have previous retirement seminars that you can watch and lots of really helpful information. So I've dropped the link to that in the chat. Again, please feel free to visit that. We also have the Good Slide packet on the website. If you click on that, it will point you to the Good Slide. And it's another really great document that they're going to mention today, and they'll talk about that as well. So without further ado, I will hand this over to Kim and Patrick to go through the presentation.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And our packet has been updated with the new contractual information. Our presentation has been updated with the new contractual information. However, it will be another week or so before the website can be updated because our webmaster is very busy making lots of updates. So we'll try and get the website updated as quickly as possible. Just wanted to let you know there may be a few things about the new contract that are available on the new CBA section of the website, but they're not yet available on the retirement page. We're working on that. So.
All right, super. And it is November 12th, 2024. Welcome to the APFA Retirement Seminar. Oh, who are we? This is Kim Coatstock. She's the APFA National Retirement Specialist. I'm Patrick Hancock. I'm the Retirement Specialist Emeritus. And we always like to give a shout out to Ron Harris. Hey, Ron. He is responsible for a lot of the slides and the information you'll see today. And that was actually him and I on a layover in London. And if you look closely, you'll see he may have been a little overserved. I don't know, anyway. So that's who we are. Who we are not is we are not the company. This is a union meeting. And I have been a union advocate for way too many years. And I have developed a rather healthy cynicism about the management of this company. So if I say things about the management and their skills that offend you, yeah, well, whatever. Hey, we are also not your financial advisors. We're not your attorneys. We're not your Medicare advisors, and we're not your Social Security advisors, although you may find that you need any or all of those people, but that's not us. And you will hear us say about 5 times during the course of this presentation, yeah, you should get a financial advisor. Even if you think you got 100% control of it, it never hurts to have another pair of eyes look at your plan, and hopefully you have a plan, and tell you if they think you're on the right course. All right, so hey, I've got a question for you. As of like November 1st, so this is kind of current, we had 27,798 members. How many of those do you think are over the age of 80? 80. 8 decades age. Not flying.
Keeps growing.
Yeah, you're wrong. It's 32. We have 32 people over the age of 80. And they're always constantly outbidding me. I've got to get to a more junior base. But so, and moving that down that thing, we've got 223, 75 over the age of 75, another 719. Look at this, 65, 2,000. Look at this, 60 to 64, 4,953. I think that's the largest group, isn't it?
That may be the largest individual group.
Largest individual group. And moving on down, look at this. And then we start gets a little skinny, and then we start getting into the new higher phase. All the way down to 20 to 24, we've got 1,200 people there. So if you do the math on that, over 55, there's 12,360, and under 55, 15,000. So an awful lot of our people are eligible. Actually, I think if you go down to 50, because you've got the 65-point plan, you're probably right at half of our people are eligible to retire today. And if it seems like the union is putting a lot of time, effort, and resources into helping people understand and get ready to retire, that is why, because we as a work group are there.
And also for the younger people in the under 55 group, it's also in your interest for people to retire because you're going to be more senior when they retire. So it's in your interest for us to get this information out there to everyone.
Exactly. And hopefully we'll have information for people that aren't yet ready to retire, but like they're over the age of 18 and need to start thinking about it.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
We're going to be there eventually.
Exactly. So, hey, Kim, what can you tell us about housekeeping?
Okay, so general housekeeping regarding our presentation. The Good Slide handout that I mentioned earlier follows our presentation. We did just update it. We had a few delays because we were waiting for the company to give us some updated information and dates about the contract. We also had to wait for the Social Security and Medicare numbers for 2025, which just came out, and then some other changes about the 401k contributions and so on. So I apologize that some of you guys have been waiting for an updated packet, but it is updated. It is not on the website yet. So if you want a new updated packet right away, call or email me and I will mail you one. And it should be on the packet on the website by the end of this week or next week for you to download. Thank you for your patience. All right, so if you have any questions during the presentation, as Josh mentioned, you can submit them via chat. In the back of our packet, either the old one or the new one, these are pretty consistent. There's a number of checklists that are very helpful if you're planning to retire in the next 6 months to a year, even if you're doing some long-term planning. So take a look at the checklist and everybody's like, where do I start? What do I need to do? This will give you a good idea. Also in the back of the packet is a contact list, all the most important contacts you need from the company, Fidelity, and so on, including the most important contact of all for accurate information, retirement@apfa.org. So let's talk about retirement and what it really means. Generally speaking, we like to say retirement's comprised of 3 baskets or types of benefits. The first one being medical benefits. The second one is your retirement benefits, such as your flight privileges and so on. And the third one is your financial benefits, such as your pension or 401k benefits. So the medical benefits basket we refer to as the incredible shrinking basket, because since various bankruptcies in the airline industry, almost nobody has any well, nobody now who's working has any pre-funded medical benefits, and we used to before bankruptcies. So, if you're not eligible for Medicare, you're probably going to be spending some money for your medical benefits. So important questions you need to ask if you're planning to retire is, what do you need to retire? What do you get in retirement? What about income? That is huge. And what else do I need to research? There's always some fun little details that you don't think about and you go, oh, I should have thought of that. So we're trying to think of it ahead of time and help you out. So what do you need to retire? Well, Patrick, what do you need to retire?
All right. Well, in order to retire, you need a couple of things. First off, you need to be eligible, because if you retire and you're not eligible, American says you quit. Yeah, that's not a good thing. Okay. So, and secondly, you're going to need money because Visa still wants to be paid. And lastly, you're going to need to be ready. Ooh, that one's a little harder. The other two I can measure with numbers. Be ready? Yeah, so we'll spend some time talking about ready. So in order to retire, you have to have at least 10 years of company seniority, date of hire, and that's easy to find. It's on when you look at your HI 8, it'll say on there company seniority. That's the one. And you also have to have that 10 years and your age have to equal 65 or more. So if you're 55 with 10 years of seniority, you've got it. You're 45 with 20 years of seniority, you got it. So anytime that the sum of those two equals 65 or more, you are good to go. All right, so you got eligibility. Now you need money. And when you're doing long-range planning, there are two major questions you have to answer. The first is, how much do I need to have saved on the day I retire to last me the rest of my life? That's the goal. That's the number. I mean, that's probably the most common question that financial planners get. What's the number? And the problem is, it's different for all of us. If you've got, you've got a bunch of side gig, you've got money coming in from investments, you've got, rental property, whatever, your number is going to be different than somebody sitting on the jump seat next to you. So that's why you need to talk to a financial planner, because that's their skill set. They can sit down with you, go over your budgets, go over your projections, and frankly, go over your wants. Do you want to go traveling, all around the world on cruise ships for the next 10 years? You're going to have a different target number than the person that wants to retire to the mountains in Colorado and take care of puppies. Although puppies can be very expensive, just as a side note. But yeah, so once you've got that number, you now have to ask the question, how much do I need to save each year in order to reach that thing, or that goal? And if you're just starting to think about retiring and you're planning on retiring soon, you're going to have, I believe the corporate speak is challenges, because retirement planning is a long-term thing. It's not something you do, after you're done figuring out your vacation. The sad thing is, most of us spend more time figuring out how to run our vacation this year than we will spend ever planning for retirement, which is going to be the rest of our lives when we leave. Oh, by the way, my favorite one in here is, I said you held Christmas off. I aspire to that, except now that you get paid, holiday pay for it, I'll probably never be able to hold it now.
I think we should have a new rule that everybody should spend at least, the same amount of time that they spend bidding for their December schedule on retirement every year.
I think that's a wonderful rule. So yeah, so you've got this goal, and the general goal is you want to maintain the same lifestyle you had while you're working. You don't want to, retire and then 2 weeks later have to move under a bridge because that's all you can afford. You want to maintain the lifestyle you had while you're working. And the problem I have with this is, I'm tired of being poor. I want to be one of those rich retirees that I see on the TV commercials, jetting off on the private jets and their silver sneakers membership. And yeah, but apparently apparently the goal is to maintain the same lifestyle. So if that's the goal and you're going to retire at age 67, the first question you have to ask is, how long am I going to live? What? Come on. How long am I going to live? That's ridiculous. And that's the problem with retirement planning. is that's the first of our answers in quotes. And that's not an answer, really. Come on, seriously, how long are we gonna live? Nah. So instead of calling it answers, I like to call it guesstimates. So that's the first of our guesstimates. And your life expectancy in 2023 is 77.5 years. 2020 had the largest decline since World War II. This is the first year that we're starting to climb back out of that pit. 74.8 years for men, 80.2 years. Wait, guys, how did we let that happen?
Your things are.
Oh, they're not advancing. There we go.
Advancing.
All right. Yeah. I thought we were in charge of the world, but obviously not if that's the number. So
Woohoo.
yeah,
Girls.
that's less for African Americans, 72.8, more for Hispanics, 80. And I got all this information out of the National Vital Statistics Report, volume 64, book 6. And that, I tell you, that is the cure for insomnia if I have ever run into it. So yeah, you take that on a layer, you'll sleep like a baby. And that becomes the first of our guesstimates, but it's not the only guesstimate. And the problem with that average is it's an average. Half of us are going to die sooner and half of us are going to die later. The question you have to answer is, which half are you in? I love to tell the story. I started going gray when I was in high school, and which was terrible because, you know, you're trying to fit in and I'm getting gray hair. And so I went home one day and I said, Mom, I found out in biology class that the gray hair is all your fault. Everything about a man's hair comes on the mother's genes. So what's going to happen next? Am I going to go bald in college? I mean, did my uncles or grandparents or anybody go bald early? She said, oh, honey, none of them ever lived that long. Great, thanks. Good heritage is the best gift you can give your kids. So, but that's just one of the guesstimates. There are other guesstimates, salary projection, because we know salaries always go up. Unless you're in the airline industry. Okay.
But they did this year.
They did this year, man. I'm loving it. I tell you, inflation as always goes up, except for the 10 years prior. So yeah,
And it's doing it again.
it's doing it again. And the stock market. Oh, yeah. I can't even guess on that. And this is why you probably need to or want to talk to a financial planner, is because you can put best guesses into that financial plan, and that's something that they do really well. All right, so we've got eligibility and money. What was that other one? Oh yeah, the hardest question of all. Are you ready to retire? Yeah. And the thing is, you need to be ready. We talk to a lot of people who've already retired. You know, the company finds some new way to screw them. They call us, we fix it. And then before they hang up, say, wait, I've got a question for you. Did you retire at the right time? Is retirement working for you? Are you happy you did it? Do you wish you could come back? And 99% was like, oh, it's the best thing I ever did. I don't know how I ever showed up for work because my life is so full. And I'm I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to that 1 or 2% that aren't happy. Why aren't you happy? What went wrong? I want to make sure I don't stumble into that same problem. And almost exclusively, the problem is they didn't plan. $40,000, man, that'll last for the rest of my life. I'm out of here. Or they took the sudden out. The sudden out? What's that? That's where your supervisor and the union rep meet you on the jet bridge. And the union rep whispers in your ear as you're walking up the jet bridge, I got your retirement. I recommend you take it. Yeah. And, you know, because we're flight attendants, we'll talk to people. Imagine that. And we'll talk to our sister. We'll talk to, you know, our financial planner. We'll talk to that non-rev on the jump seat we've never seen before. And because they all love you and want the best for you, they'll tell you the answer that is best for them. That's the way we work. So, yeah. So you have to answer the question. You can't depend on other people to answer that for you. And have you reached that point? You know, there's not a red and green light. It's kind of, are you ready? And I heard a really good description a couple of months ago. I was talking to a flight attendant who retired, 2 or 3 years ago. And she said, well, I'll tell you, I'm happy I retired. I wish I'd left earlier. But she said, it was really uncertain for me. And she said, I realized that uncertainty from long ago when I decided to become a stewardess, because she was of that age, she became a stewardess, not a flight attendant. And she said, you know what? That same uncertain feeling seems to have worked out pretty good for a career. And so it seems to be working out pretty good for me as a retiree. But you have to make that decision. And have you reached that point? Questions?
All right. I want to retire September 2025 at age 67. When and what steps will I need to accomplish? I've already signed up for Medicare.
Okay, so steps you need to accomplish, there's kind of in a nutshell, the steps you need to take are you need to look at your income and make sure you have enough to retire. So you want to look at your 401k, and if you're of the age where you can start taking distributions, plan that when you're going to start doing that. You want to look at any other income you have. Are you eligible for Social Security, or are you already taking it? Do we need to put in for that? If you have a pension, either Legacy US Airways or Legacy AA, you need to put in the paperwork to start that, because that does not start automatically. So those are the general financial things you need to look at. Now there's a new thing and usually the pensions, you can start at night. The furthest out you can request your pension paperwork is 90 days out. So, but now, and we're going to talk about this in the next section, in fact, but we have the new RHRA account, Retiree Health Reimbursement Arrangement. And if you want to put in for that after February 1st, on or after February 1st, you're going to have to give 4 months lead time to the company. So RHRA would be 4 months out. There's a waiver right now. So if you're going to retire before February 1st, you don't have to worry about it. But February 1st going forward, you'll have to give 4 months out. And then the next thing is your medical insurance. Are you eligible for Medicare? Probably takes about 60 days to go through the whole process to get signed up for Medicare. So you want to start that process about 60 days out. And we will be talking more about Medicare. If you don't have Medicare, you're going to have to come up with some other option for medical insurance. We'll be talking about those options later in the presentation. And then if you don't want the RHRA, if you want the RHRA, you have to notify the company 4 months out. If you don't want the RHRA, you have to notify the company between 60 to 30 days out. So those are the main steps. There's other little things, and we're going to review a lot of that throughout the presentation, but those are the main 3 things you need to be thinking about. And what was the rest of the question, Josh?
That was it.
Was there something about socials? Oh, she said she's already on Medicare, and some people sign up for Medicare Part A while they're still working, but that doesn't mean that they've signed up for Medicare Part B and Part D and the supplement plan. So if you haven't signed up for all of those components of Medicare, if you're only in there for Medicare Part A, it is about a 60-day process to get the other parts of Medicare in place. So.
Is there any advantage to retiring at the beginning of the year as opposed to the end of the calendar year?
Actually, there is. And it's weird. It's because of medical insurance. When you have a medical insurance plan at the beginning of the year, you have a deductible. I'm in the standard plan, and I think my deductible is like $850. So the first $850 I spend for medical comes straight out of my pocket. And if I did that in January and February, and then on March 1st, I retired and went to a new medical plan, guess what? There's a new deductible. The only way around that is to go to COBRA if you can, but not all of us are eligible to go to COBRA, because if you're eligible for Medicare, you can't do COBRA, or you shouldn't do COBRA. They'll try and trick you into it, but don't fall for it. If you're eligible for Medicare, don't do COBRA. If I go on my spouse's insurance, I'm new for that year, and they don't care that I already paid a deductible into American's active employee plan. I've got a new deductible there. So a lot of people like to retire at the end of the year, because on January 1st, they're going to have a new deductible no matter which plan they're in. There may or may not be some bookkeeping advantage to having everything all in one fiscal calendar year. An awful lot of people don't do their own taxes, so they don't care But yeah, the primary motivation for doing the end of the year is to avoid paying 2 deductibles.
All right, we are good to continue.
All right. What do I get in retirement?
Okay, what do you get in retirement? Well, you get travel privileges. You get paid out for your vacation and unused sick time if you're eligible for the 65-point plan. That's on the sick. You get the option to elect the RHRA if you're eligible for the 65-point plan. And you get a fabulous retirement gift. You get the status of being a retiree. There's a certain cachet to being a retired flight attendant. Also, you get the option to purchase some really expensive medical insurance if you're eligible for the 65-point plan and separate between the ages of 55 and 65. So let's talk about travel. You get your D1, D2R, D2P, D3, AA20, and 20% off Advantage tickets. All that continues. The D1s, you get the same amount of D1s, and you notice up there's not an R after the D1s. All non-rev travels booked through the non-rev travel planner on the AA retiree site, which is www.retirees.aa.com. Your service charges and taxes are charged to your credit card like they are now. And as we should all know by now, if you're having a D3, use your travel and with service charges and so on, you should have them submit their own credit card information. The Z fares are booked through My ID Travel, the same as they are when you're active, so that's good. And there's unfortunately no more jump seat authority. No KCM. It's kind of a drag. You got to go through the normal security lines, which is why, and there's non-rev friendly travel agencies such as Perks and with the no KCM and no jump seat authority, it's why it's a good idea to get a pre-check or global entry. And if the timing is right, it's running out and you're going to retire next year, get the company to pay for it one more time before you retire. All right, sick and vacation time. Your unused sick under the new unused sick is still paid out at $8.65 per sick hour, which, we always say if there's a way to use your sick time for a legitimate purpose before you leave, go for it, because that's going to be the maximum value of your sick time. Your unused and accrued vacation, so all the vacation that you've already bid that you haven't used, and anything you've accrued through the calendar year up to the point of your retirement is paid out all at 4 hours per day at your rate of pay under the new contract. So yay, there's no more 3.5 for anything less. Oh, look, that's still up there. We forgot to take it out. So scratch that bottom part. I thought it was all updated and I found something I missed. So, the vacation payout when you retire is not eligible for the employer contribution and match to your 401k. However, it is eligible for the employee contribution. So, it's one last chance to put a little bit more money in your 401k if you want to do that. Pro tip, you can change your 401k deduction amount on the Fidelity website. So, after you get the last paycheck is issued, the last normal paycheck before the vacation pays out, you can change your election amount if you want to put, a big chunk of that into the 401k. All right, so we're going to talk now about the Retiree Health Reimbursement Arrangement, RHRA. So this is a new contractual benefit that we just got. And this is the one that you need to give the 4 months lead time. So in order to be eligible for the RHRA, you must also be eligible for the 65-point plan. And as Patrick mentioned before, it's your age plus your years of service equals 65 or more, and you have at least 10 years of company seniority. In order to put in for the RHRA and get it after February 1st of this year, you have to give the company 4 months advance notice. And you do that by submitting the retirement notification form to the company 4 months before you plan to retire. And the benefit of the RHRA is it allows you to put 50% of the value, the full value of your accumulated sick hours into the RHRA. This RHRA is what is called a notional account. So it's the value of your sick time, but it's not actual dollars. You can't just go, oh, I don't want to use it for my health benefits. I want to, cash it out and put it into a Roth IRA or something. You can't do that. It's credit. So when you retire, you get X amount of credit, and then you can use that credit. You can convert the credit into money as you submit items for reimbursement. So eligible health expenses, insurance premiums, most insurance premiums paid out of your post-tax dollars are all eligible for the RHRA. The RHRA, just like all of our active health accounts at American Airlines right now, is administered by Fidelity. And a list of eligible expenses can be found on the IRS website. And I'm sure we're going to have some questions about the RHRA, and we'll do our best to answer them. Okay, retirement gift. Really, when you submit the retirement notification form, which is the official means to notify the company that you're going to retire, your flight service or crew manager should get a message saying that you're going to retire on such and such a date. And that should put a lot of this stuff, into place. You should automatically get the retirement gift catalog within 30 days after you retire. However, it doesn't hurt to, when you notify the company via the retirement notification form, give your manager a heads up and say, hey, don't forget to make sure I get my gift catalog. So the gift catalog comes with a commemorative certificate, shows your years of service and your name. Hopefully it's spelled correctly. Options include a wide array of dust catchers, some glass plaques, jewelry from Tiffany's even, I've heard. And here's an example, the lovely crystal American Airlines tail that you can display proudly or not. You also have the option to donate to the Wings Foundation, I've heard. And somebody mentioned recently that they couldn't see that option. And I've heard that if you call the number that's in the gift catalog, you should still have that option available to you. So you get a retiree ID. Your status is going to change from that of Sky Goddess to, what is it? Cat Rancher. Oh, Patrick and I are really excited about being cat people when we retire, but so don't be offended. We know people have all different aspirations for their retirement.
Hamster.
Dog puppy rancher. Okay, so you get a retiree ID. You can submit an online request for the retiree ID prior to your retirement. There's a company retiree guide on JetNet. And I think the link for the retiree ID is step 6 out of 7. However, they're not going to send it to you until you actually retire. You can also submit the request after you retire from the retiree's website. And you can use it for discounts on shipping, your FedEx discount, hotels, car rentals. Government issued photo ID is actually required for your travels. So you do not need the retiree ID in order to travel. It's just good for those retiree perks. Access to the AA retiree site is one of those, perks, but you don't need the retiree ID for that either. It just has links to the deals and discounts, things like that. And non-rev travel planner and your payroll access. So if you need to file your taxes, which we all do, even after you retire, you find your pay information there. Now, your detailed sequence history is not going to be available on the retiree's website. So if you want to save that information, you need to print all those out prior to your retirement. Okay, so some people aren't able to retire. They just can't get to, maybe they have the 10 years of service, but they started young. They were a baby and their age plus their years of service doesn't equal 65 or more, but they're ready to go. So basically you can just quit. You would just need to notify your crew manager. Your vacation will still be paid out at the contractual rate, so that's a good thing. Your legacy, if you're a legacy AA flight attendant, you still qualify, and you have a pension, you would still qualify for that pension, and you would need to contact Fidelity to find out when and how you can start drawing on your pension. If you're a legacy US flight attendant with the PBGC pension and you're not already taking it, because a lot of the LUS folks are double dipping, you would have to contact the PBGC and find out when you can start it. If you're not retiring, you're not qualified for the 65-point plan and you decide to quit, you are not going to be paid out for the sick time and you will not have the option to have it deposited into the RHRA. All right, any questions?
Yes, right. Let's take some RHRA ones first. If I opt for the balance of my sick bank to be converted into an RHRA, will taxes be deducted before depositing into the retirement account?
The answer is no. It's just like a healthcare FSA. The RHRA is a tax-free account for your health expenses. That's the benefit of it. So even though you're getting only the 50% of the value of your sick time that you have available when you retire going into the RHRA, that will not be taxed. And you'll get paid out of the RHRA account for eligible health expenses tax-free as well. So it's not considered income for, taxable income if you use it, and you can only use it for your eligible health expenses.
Can you use RHRA dollars for insurance premiums?
You can use it for insurance premiums that are paid out of your post-tax dollars. That means if you go on the Affordable Care Act and you purchase a policy through them, if you are paying COBRA premiums, it will qualify for that. If you're paying Medicare premiums, it will qualify for that. If you're married and you go on your spouse's insurance, those deductions are always taken out of somebody's pay pre-tax, so it would not qualify for those premiums.
To get the option of being paid a half-hour pay for every hour of sick time, the new contract states that you need to give the company at least 4 months advance notice of the flight attendant's intent to retire. What does that advance notice entail? And does that mean you just send an email to AAHR with the retirement date, or do you need to submit all the applicable paperwork by that time?
So the process for notification of your retirement is the retirement notification form. It's on the in-flight website. If you go to Flight Attendant Service Center, and then there's a list of helpful links. You go to Flight Attendant Service Center, helpful links, and then you'll find the retirement notification form. That is the official way to notify the company that you're going to retire and when. So one of the things they ask you in that notification form is, do you want your sick time deposited into the RHRA, or do you want to be paid out at $8.65 per sick hour? You get to choose, or you can choose to use it all before you leave. But if you're going to do the RHRA, you need to submit that retirement notification form 4 months prior to your, at least 4 months prior to your retirement date. So that's the official way to notify the company that you're going to want to retire with the RHRA.
This individual signed up for the Plus plan in open enrollment this year. Is this cash that they can put into an account after retirement? They're planning to move out of the country. Good for you. I wish I could join you. And would like to use that money towards extra health care plan abroad. So the money that you can take with you into the retirement with the Plus plan is also an RHRA. So that, for that RHRA, that comes with your health plan, and it doesn't require any advance notification because you already have it. So if you retire with the Plus plan, you will have that money to use in retirement, and you can use it for qualified expenses in another country as well. You just have to show that they are qualified expenses.
So again, if it's premiums that you pay out of your post-tax dollars, those would qualify. I've talked to maybe a couple of people that use it for premiums for a plan like in Australia or something like that. So, you know, it may entail a little bit more proof, but you know, you can use it for any premium that's paid out of post-tax dollars. And then I had somebody confused about the plus plan. They have the plus plan and they said, do I have to give 4 months notification if I want to retire with that RHRA? No, that's separate. That comes with signing up for the plus plan. So if you have the plus plan, you're going to get those RHRA dollars no matter what. It's the 4-month notification is only required for the conversion of your sick dollars into the RHRA credit. If you have the plus plan and you choose to put your sick dollars into the RHRA, they're all going to go into the same RHRA after you retire.
You know, that's a little confusing because we also have that HSA that I can have if I do the core plan. And that also, I had that question last week. That is still, you take it with you. There's no notification required that money is yours the second it hits that HSA plan.
Correct. And the HSA is a different kind of account altogether. It is money.
It is.
That you're putting in, and you could potentially invest it and do other things with it after you retire. So it's a different animal than the RHRA. If you have the core plan, you can still have an RHRA if you have the sick hours and you elect to put them in and give the 4 months notification.
Can you change your mind and rescind the retirement notification form?
Yes, you can. When you go on the in-flight website to where the retirement notification form is and click on that, the first thing you'll see is one option that says submit retirement. And below that is an option that says rescind retirement. So if you have already put it in, you can go back and click on rescind retirement if you change your mind. Now, I wouldn't, yes, it's all computerized and supposed to be very efficient. If you do it maybe, you know, a week to 4 or 5 days out, it'll probably be fine. If you do it on the same day, that retirement's probably already processed. You know, a day or two before, I don't know, but you know, if you really want to rescind it, I would do it maybe, you know, at least 5 days ahead of time or something like that to be sure.
The old rule was you had to let them know by midnight on the day prior. So if you're retiring on Wednesday, you have to let them know by midnight on Monday night. And I don't know that got changed, but that's certainly a clear line.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're within a week, I would fill out the form and I'd call my supervisor and I'd send an email and keep a copy of the response.
But I did talk to one flight attendant that put it in. She had a bad trip and she was not happy and she was going to retire that day. And she put it in. And then the next day she changed her mind. It had gone through and they would not let her rescind it. So once it's gone through, they're not going to let you rescind it.
If you do rescind your retirement notification, does it have an impact on your RHRA?
Well, you would have to give another full 4 months notification, is my understanding.
Okay.
We can ask the company about that if you gave it and you just push it back 1 month and you already gave it. But it's my understanding that you'd have to give another 4 months notice.
So the question really is, does it start that 4 month clock over again?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good question. In all caps, do you think AA will have a buyout? AA is still hiring a whole lot of flight attendants. As of right now, there's been no conversations of any buyouts.
I don't think they will, but
We don't foresee that happening.
we don't foresee it happening. Historically, when they're hiring, that means they need people. That means they need the people that are here and more people. During COVID, they froze hiring. They had too many flight attendants on property, and that was the last time they offered a buyout. So something like that could happen. We didn't anticipate the buyouts that were offered during COVID, so you never know what's going to happen. But historically, if they're hiring, they don't offer a buyout. They only offer a buyout when there's an overage.
I'm presently 55 and plan to retire at 58. Is there any advantage to choosing the core plan with the HSA over the plus plan in the final year of working?
Well, with the core plan and the HSA, like Kim said earlier, that money is yours. It's the minute it hits your account. So you can take that with you. And you have
There are certain IRS rules about it, but yeah, it's money.
It's money.
Credit.
And you can, if you're not comfortable leaving it with Fidelity, who's administering the HSA, because it's a pot of money, you can roll that over to, say, a Schwab HSA, and choose your investments. So that's the advantage. The disadvantage is it's the core plan, and it has a huge deductible and a high out-of-pocket max.
A lot of people aren't comfortable with that.
Yeah, the older I get, the more concerned I am with the quality and affordability of my medical insurance. So yeah, it depends. You may be a triathlete, 65-year-old triathlete, but I'm not.
If you're really young and really healthy, it might work for you. However, I've talked to people that were really young and really healthy, and then something happened and they're like, what's my deductible? So, it just depends on your comfort level. If you have enough in savings to meet that deductible were it necessary, then the core plan can work really well for some people.
Can you walk through the retirement, where to find the retirement information on JetNet? I'm going to provide this to someone in a link.
Sure, you go to log into JetNet. On the top menu bar, you see team member services.
Okay.
You click on that. A little drop-down box will open up, and one of the last items in the little box is Leaving American. You click on that. And then you'll find the Americans Retirement Guide, Step into Retirement, or something like that it's called. So you click on that, and that'll walk you through all the steps. That's the company's retirement guide.
Okay, I'm gonna post this for the individual, and then where would they go to file their the form?
The retirement notification form.
Yeah.
We'll go to JetNet, then go to departments, then click on in-flight. Then on the left-hand side of the page, under bidding and crew portal and all that, they'll see Flight Attendant Service Center. And when that page opens up, the retirement notification form is in a list of links on the right-hand side of the page, and it is one up from the bottom of that list.
It's also available in CCI on your EFB.
Yeah, I've heard it's also available in, Comply.
Oh, that's right. I
However,
said CCI. It's Comply.
Some people have more trouble accessing the form. Sometimes, with JetNet, they make you sign in a million times for everything. So in order to click on the form, you'll see another sign in come up, and it doesn't look like the normal JetNet sign in. It looks like you're signing into an Outlook account, like your company email is an Outlook account. And it asks for a password, and your password is your JetNet password. So don't be confused because it looks different. If it asks you for another password and you're going, what is this account? It's your JetNet password.
All right, perfect. I dropped that in there for this individual. All right, so let's move on and talk about vacation and sick payout. First question, do you have to be active on seniority list the month of June, for example, to cash out your earned vacation?
No, you do not. Anytime you retire, it's like you get an automatic vacation buyback. So you don't have to wait for June. You don't have to wait till the end of the calendar year. I think back in the day, all of your vacation that you accrued in the calendar year was dropped into your account at the end of the year. It doesn't work like that anymore. We accrue on a continuous basis for our sick time and our vacation time. So if I retire in July, for instance, and I've accrued 6 months or 7 months of sick time, a vacation time, I'm gonna get paid out for all that accrued vacation. In addition to that, if I bid all my vacation for the year in August, September, October, and November, I'm gonna get paid out for all those bid vacation days that I haven't used. So you do not have to wait for June. You don't have to wait for the end of the calendar year. You're always gonna be paid out for any unused bid vacation and any vacation you've earned up to that point during the calendar year.
Perfect. If I retire on December 31st this year, I will have accrued 35 days of vacation for 2024. Will, again, my vacation days accrued in 2024 be paid out at the new hourly rate?
Yes,
Oh, that's a
they
good
will.
question.
Yeah, any vacation paid out after October 1st of this year is paid out at the new hourly rate
It's great.
and going forward. Woohoo.
Does vacation get paid out at 3.5 hours per day or 4 hours per day?
Everything is now, there's only one contractual rate for vacation in our new CBA, and that is 4 hours per day at your rate of pay.
Thank you, APFA.
That was a
Thank you.
huge win.
That was
It
a
was.
huge one.
How and who manages the HSA account established with unused sick time accrued for the new contract?
Fidelity manages all the active health accounts and all the retiree health accounts. So you would call Fidelity if you had issues with your HSA, your FSA, your RHRA, or any of those health accounts.
With that, can we use the retired HSA Medicare payments for Medicare payments? And is there a time limit on the money? Do we have to use it all before a certain date? Is it a use it or lose it?
So I think this person is asking about the RHRA because they were asking about sick time before that. So the RHRA does not have an expiration date. It's there until it's gone. So,
Or you're gone.
or you're gone. So, and if you die and there's still money left in there, the only person that could have access to those funds would be a spouse. Other than that, when you're gone, it's gone. So use it, use it. That's what it's there for, your health expenses in retirement, getting reimbursed for those.
So for the RHRA, we talked about sick bank being paid out and that process. Is there a tax liability with that?
There's not a tax liability. The dollars go in pre-tax and then they're not taxed if you use them for your eligible health expenses.
And then could you cover again, how do they access the funds?
They access the funds through submitting claims to Fidelity for their medical expenses. And Fidelity, you can do it online, or I think they have an app that they're working on making gradually more user-friendly that you can put on your smartphone.
Right.
So you can take a picture of your, statement from the doctor or your EOBs from your insurance and submit those. It's best to call Fidelity because they'll tell you exactly what they need to see on those expenses for it to be an easy reimbursement process.
So this person put this
Yes,
question.
they do have a debit card too,
Okay,
but for big expenses, it's probably not gonna go through like premiums, Medicare premiums and so on. But for like something that's eligible at the drugstore, a prescription, just like the FSA, small things might go through on the debit card, bigger things you're probably gonna have to show proof of payment.
okay.
And one of the things we've discovered through the FSA and the debit card is that there are vendors where you could be buying something eligible or something ineligible. And the classic example is your dentist, that your dentist could be giving you filling a cavity, which is an eligible expense, or they could be giving you the teeth whitening system, which is not an eligible expense. So if your dentist if you just try to use that debit card at the dentist, it's going to be rejected because they don't know whether that's really an eligible expense. And the other pro tip, and I love this one, if you happen to have, an Aviator Red MasterCard, and you pay all of your medical expenses with your Aviator Red MasterCard and then submit those receipts for reimbursement,
You get points.
you get points.
That's good.
You get miles and points sometimes.
So this question is under the RHRA discussion that we're having. What if they want to retire less than 4 months from now?
This is a new animal, so if you want to retire, well, if you want to retire right now, less than 4 months from now, if you want to retire in December or January, right now, the notification is waived. So if you want to retire on February 1st, you're probably gonna have to wait till March 1st if you want the RHRA, because November 1st would have been the deadline to retire on February 1st. So there's a waiver. I don't know if we could try asking the company if they would extend it another month. I doubt they will, because it's set in stone with the contractual language. And we may have to test whether if somebody has to retire suddenly because of a medical issue and they still have sick time, if the company will allow any exceptions, we can ask. But right now, in black and white, if we go just strictly by the contractual language, if you want the RHRA, you have to give the 4 months notification. And again, right now, we're in a period of time where that's been waived, so that will not apply if you plan to retire before February 1st.
So you may find yourself doing a little math thing. Say it's next October and you're not coming back. You need to retire now. But you want your sick bank into an RHRA. So you do the math and say, okay, let's say October, November, December. Okay, January 1st, that I could, if I give my 4 months notice, I can retire and get my sick bank. But because I delayed that additional 4 months, I'm not going to get 4 months of my pension if you've got a LAA pension. So you have to do the math.
Which is worth more, right?
Which is worth more, and do whichever gets you the most money. That's the plan. If forfeiting 4 months of pension gets you more money into your RHRA than you forfeited, you might want to do that. If it's going to cost you more in lost pension to get the sick bank, just take your $8.65 an hour and be done with it.
This individual said when they put in dates for retirement, they see they'll get $3,400 a month. Then certain dates it shows $1,600.
There are, as you will see in our next section, there are a lot of choices, all of which have different numbers.
All right, so we'll couch that one. Who do you inform? Let's rapid fire some of these. Who do you inform of your retirement?
You inform the company, which is basically the in-flight management team, through submitting the retirement notification form, either in Comply 365 or from the in-flight website.
Which we talked about.
I have talked to maybe like 2 people, and I don't know if they have really strong pop-up blockers or what, that have tried every single way. Most people can get to it fine, but like 2 people I've spoken to tried it every way they could with their computer, their tablet, whatever, and they could not get to their retirement notification form. If you have a situation like that, Flight Service created this form. The union can't fix problems with their form. We would love to do that, but we can't. So call your manager, call somebody at the company and make them submit the form for you if you can't get to it for some reason.
Is there any benefit to retiring the first of the month versus the middle or the end of the month?
The benefit of retiring the first of the month is when your pension payment will kick in. You can only get a pension check on the first of the month. So if you retire on July 15th, your first one will be on August 1st. If you retire on June 30th or July 1st, you can get the July pension payment. So that's the advantage to retiring. I always like to say at the end of the month, technically, you can, if your first day of retirement is on the 1st of July, I just know how this company or in the computers work. So I would say, they're good.
It's safe to say, I'm going to retire on July 1st. That will be your first day of retirement. Your last day as an active employee will be June 30th. So that's safe. Also, another reason you want to do that is because if you say you're going to retire on June 30th, your insurance from the company is going to end at midnight on your last day as an active employee. So it's going to end on June 29th at midnight. You're going to have nothing on June 30th, and then on July 1st, whatever Medicare, whatever other benefit you're signing up for will generally start. If it's Medicare, and this is another reason to retire on the first day of a month, Medicare only starts on the first day of the calendar month. They're not going to start you up in the middle of the month. They're going to start you on the 1st of July, or if you miss that, the 1st of August, you know. So pensions and Medicare start on the first day of a calendar month. So that's why a lot of people choose to retire on the 1st of the month. If you're going on a spouse's insurance with a life event, COBRA, that can happen anytime. But the pension and Medicare start on the 1st of the month.
Can you change your travel companion after you retire?
Yes.
Okay. And can you walk through again where they find the retirement gift choices?
That is, and to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, you get sent a catalog when you retire, and that's where the choices are. I don't think you have access to looking at those choices before you retire.
All right. We are good to continue.
All right, so we've been talking about money. Let's talk about income.
Yeah, what about it?
In income, in retirement, hopefully you'll have like 4 or 5 streams of income. You're going to have your 401k. You're going to have an IRA. You're going to have your Social Security. You're going to have savings, and savings has some funny permutations. It's not just money you have over the credit union. We'll talk about that. And if you have a pension, you'll have your pension. And I like thinking about it as 5 streams of income as like a 5-legged stool. And the reason that's important is that if you have a 5-legged stool and one of them gets kicked out from underneath you, say a U.S. Congress decided, you know, you guys saved money in a 401k, you got a tax benefit from that, you don't deserve or need as much Social Security as somebody else, so they reduce or eliminate your Social Security. They wouldn't do that. Oh, yeah? Yeah, remember how Social Security used to be like at 65 and now all of a sudden it's at 67? That happened way back when Ronald Reagan was president and they were trying to balance the budget because there was an election coming up. And so they did the sleight of hand in balancing the budget by increasing the age at which you were eligible for Social Security. Because they figured by the time we figured out how they screwed us that they'd all be dead. They were right. I'm still mad at them though. But even if one of those legs gets kicked out from underneath you, you still have 4 legs left. So it's not that it doesn't hurt, it's just that it's not devastating. And every time I look at this list, I am always so happy. I am a member of a labor union that cares about my retirement and my future and has worked hard to ensure as many of these streams of income are available to me. I contrast that with the over 40% of people on Social Security, but that's all they got. They don't have savings, they don't have IRAs, they don't have 401ks, they don't have PIN. All they have is Social Security. And I've got to ask the question, what kind of security is it when your entire financial life depends on the good graces of the U.S. Congress? Lord help us.
Not very secure.
Not very secure at all. So you've got these 4 different streams of income. Hey, what about that 401k loan I've got? Well, first option is you can continue to pay the loan back on your current amortization schedule. Or if you've got the money, just pay it off entirely. You're not going to have a paycheck. So you're going to have to say, hey, debit my checking account directly, or, you know, give me the address to send you a check, or however you're going to do that. And the second option is just stop making payments, and they will take the outstanding balance as a distribution, which will be taxed as income. And you may not want to do that. And particularly if you're not yet age 59 and a half, because will charge you the penalty for doing that. So one last thing about the 401k, your 401k will freeze for the first 80 days at exit from the company. I mean, freeze solid. You can't change your investments. You can't put money in. You can't take money out. So if you're going to need money, you might want to, in that first 30 days, you might want to consider rolling money out of your 401k prior to exiting, or you'll have to wait for that 30 days. I do want to point out that if you need money out of your 401k in the first 30 days of retirement, you may not quite be ready. You want to talk to a financial planner about that. And you've got options. You can roll your 401k into an IRA. You can leave it with Fidelity, and wherever you go, and say you get another job, welcome to Walmart, you can roll that 401k into your new 401k. Into your new 401k, and they'll be glad to have it, because the larger the 401k, the cheaper the fees are. Our 401k at Fidelity is really one of the largest around. And so our administrative fees are very cheap. It's like less than $100 a year. And I know people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars and are paying less than $100 a year for the administrative fees on that. So what about the IRA? Well, the IRA has a pre-tax and post-tax, the Roth IRA. And that's kind of like what we were just talking about with the 401k. The problem is that there are limits on who can put money into an IRA. It's $150,000 for a single. If you're making more than that, you can't put money into your Roth IRA. If $236,000 for a married filing jointly, you can't put money into your Roth IRA.
I think you can put it in, but there's a phase out.
Yeah, and but it phases out very quickly.
Right,
So
phases out quickly, but that's if you want to put the maximum into your Roth IRA.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, and within like $20,000 of that number, you're gonna hit the max and be able to put in zero. I got a call from my neighbor the other day, and they said, "Hey, they won't let me put money into my 401k." And I said, "Yeah, that's because you made too much money. Cry me a river." Yeah, so there is that issue. And then you have the option to convert your 401k into an IRA. And you're certainly welcome to do that, but you want to make sure you know what you're doing, because they are different. 401k is a product of federal law, and therefore it has certain ERISA protections. Like if somebody sues you, they can't touch your 401k, even if they win and take everything you've got. If you converted it into an IRA, the amount of protection you have depends on where you live. And I think it's Michigan that has the first 50,000 of your IRA is protected from creditors. The rest goes to whoever sued you. So that's money. Questions about money?
Yes, I have a question. May I have some, please? Okay, so I want to start withdrawing from my 401k immediately upon retirement. How do we start this process with Fidelity? And I'd also like to know approximately how much I'm projected to receive each month. Where can I find this information?
Okay, first question, how do I set up the 401k withdrawal? And there's a couple of ways you can set it up. You can go online and request a distribution, and depending on which account you're taking it from, they may say, yeah, call us about that. You can request a distribution online. And you can say, I want you to send me, $20,000 now. Or you can say, I want you to send me $3,000 a month every month. So you can set up how you want the distribution to happen, and you can set that up with Fidelity, either online or call the Fidelity Service Center. How much are you going to get? I don't know. How much have you saved? How long are you going to live? Because you control that amount of money that you take out. If you talk to a financial planner, they go, oh, you should take out 4% per year or whatever. So you have to do it. It's not like a pension where there's a formula. It's a pile of money, and you get to decide how much you're going to take out. And you have to do that calculation. Should I take a lot out now and risk not having any when I'm 90 years old? Or should I not take out a lot now and then risk dying with a whole bunch of money I could have spent? So, yeah.
But keep in mind, after age 59 and a half, you can start taking distributions.
Even if you're working.
Even if you're working, but you do hit an age where you have to start taking distributions. The required RMDs, the dreaded RMDs, required minimum distributions. Once you hit that age, you do have to start taking out a certain amount every year. And if you call Fidelity, they'll tell you can take more than that, but you can't take less than that. You can take it all at once, or you can divide it out over the whole year, but you will have to take a certain amount every year. It used to be that age was 70, and then it recently went up to 72. I think in 2025, it goes up to 73. And then over the next 10 years or something like that, 8 to 10 years, it's going to eventually be 75, I think, but that's a ways away.
With the May 2025 retirement, can you direct the vacation award for the coming year, vacation payout, to your Roth 401k as you are exiting the company?
Okay, so you cannot choose to do a company. I mean, you can, well, you kind of can. It's
Backdoor.
Yeah, backdoor. So before you retire, you would have to submit a 401k change and elect to put 100% of your pay as an employer contribution into your 401k. So you could do that. You're not going to get the company contribution and match like we said. So maybe, you get your last paycheck on the 15th. Normally you get the vacation payout like on the 15th of the month, the following month. So say I retired on January 1st. Normally I would get I get my last paycheck on January 15th with any sick payout or any last bits of money that they owe me from working. I would normally get my vacation payout on February 15th. So between the last paycheck, you could go in and change your 401k amount before you retire because it's going to freeze when you retire. But if you do it before you actually retire, well, then if you do it before you retire, will it affect your last check? Call Fidelity because I don't know the dates when you would have to do it. There is a way to do it. Call Fidelity and they'll tell you the best time to make that change. If you want to get paid normally for your check and then put 100% of your vacation in, they should be able to tell you when you need to make that change.
And if that whole thing sounds familiar, we just did that with the retro.
We just
That
did it with
you,
the retro.
you had to wait until after this date and then set it up so that you could take a lot more out of your retro and put it into your 401k than you would normally take out of your, and it had to be out of the special elections, but
Correct me if I'm wrong, because your vacation pay is a normal check.
It's a normal
not a
check.
special election.
correct.
So-
You'd have to update your regular withholding.
Do we still get dental if we still have sick time? I have 450 hours of sick time. I'm thinking about retirement after the first of the year. I'm 64.
Well, getting dental when you retire has nothing to do with having sick time. You can use, if you elect to put those dollars, your sick time dollars into an RHRA, you can use them for dental expenses. In order to get dental when you retire, if you're eligible for Medicare, you can ask your Medicare advisor if there's a dental plan that would go with your Medicare plan. Many people, I would say the majority of people when they retire, if they have active dental coverage, choose to extend their dental coverage via COBRA. So you will be, offered COBRA when you retire, and lots of people who go on Medicare choose to extend the dental and vision as long as they can before finding another plan. So anybody who has active dental benefits when they retire can elect COBRA Dental. I hope that answers the question.
My understanding from a Fidelity financial consultant is there's something called the quote 55 plan, and I can start taking distributions at 55. I don't need to wait until 59 and a half, and there's no penalty. Do you know if this is correct?
Yes, it is correct. The penalty is coming from the IRS because you took it early. The IRS has this rule that says if you are actually retired and not just needing the money for a better yacht, that you're allowed to divide the money up into your life expectancy. So at 55, they assume you're going to live to 75. So let's say that's 20 years. You're allowed to take out 1/20 each of the years prior to 59 and a half without penalty. If you took out more than that, well, that projected life expectancy slice, then they're going to not only charge you the taxes, but the penalty. But by doing that, and of course, there's an IRS form you have to fill out to do that. But by doing that, you can take the money out earlier.
But you have to retire.
You have
That's
to
the
retire.
caveat.
Yeah, that's the catch.
Additionally, I think they said taking 4% off the top would be the best option to keep my income below the 44,000 income threshold.
Well, it depends on, I mean, if you've got $2 million in your 401k, 4% is going to be over the threshold. However, you should, and just so, really, just so people know what we're talking about, they're talking about starting their Social Security early and having an income threshold. We're going to talk about Social Security in just a minute and talk about that threshold. And here's a cheater. It doesn't count for that, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right, last question. How long do you have to be married to your spouse for them? How long do you have to be married for your spouse to receive your retirement benefits?
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Perfect.
Pensions.
All right, we are good to continue.
All right, Kim, what can you tell us about Social Security?
Okay, so Social Security, I never thought I'd talk about this. I'm not that old. Can I possibly be? I think this year I'm old enough for early Social Security, so I guess I better start talking about it, or at least thinking about it. So Social Security may be taken as early as age 62 and as late as age 70. There's no more increase after the age of 70, so don't delay taking it after that age. The Social Security website that has a lot of good information is www.ssa.gov. Go there, set up an account. You can see all your Social Security information, and it's very, very helpful. Married couples have some complicated decisions about how and when to draw their Social Security. What is it? Single people have like 9 different options. So multiply that times 2 people in the married couple, you got 81 different options. Yikes. Talk to a Social Security advisor. I wouldn't even know where to begin to advise on that subject. Social Security advisors, you can go to the Social Security website. Lots of states have people that will help you for free with your Social Security. There are apps where you can figure out how to optimize your benefits. I bet Patrick has one on his phone already. There you go. Geek out over Social Security. So there's some pros and cons about taking early Social Security at age 62, and we're going to review some of those. So one pro if taking early Social Security is if you get more years of payments. So if you have to retire earlier than you intended, well, you might need that money. You can get the money, like I said, if you need it now, if there's a reason you had to retire sooner than intended. One con is it's going to lower your payments for the rest of your life. So you're going to start at a certain level and it's not going to increase unless there's a cost of living increase that everybody gets. Another con is that you're subject to those income living limits that we were discussing if you take early Social Security, and you're subject to those limits until you hit your full Social Security normal retirement age. So for 2025, the income limit is $23,400. So you can make up to that amount and not get taxed extra. But if you make even $1 more than that, you're going to be taxed at $1 well, $2 more. $1 benefits for every $2 that you earn over that limit. So, that can eat away at your benefits very quickly. So that's why a lot of people who think about maybe taking their early Social Security and just flying the hard 40, especially with our new rate of pay, most people flying the hard 40 are going to make well over that limit, especially if they're at the top of the pay scale. People below, lower on the pay scale might be making below that, but I doubt it.
Yeah, no.
And they're not going to be ready to take Social Security anyway. So there you go. So the break-even point for whether I should take early or normal Social Security, the average age of death. When are you going to die? And that was one of those guesstimates that Patrick was talking about earlier in the presentation. Who knows? You got to go based on your family history and your general health and so on. So when should I start? The blue line is someone who takes early Social Security. And the red line is someone who takes it later. So if you take it early, it's going to be more evenly spread out over time. If you take it later, it's going to be higher and go up at a greater increment. But, you know, when the lines cross, that's the average age of death. So which group are you in? Are you like Patrick's uncles who all died before they could find out if they were going to go bald? Or are you like my grandmother that got a new car when she was in her late 80s and kept driving it for a few years, you know? So got to figure out which group you're in, and that's a hard call. So full Social Security at your Social Security normal retirement age. So there's a special one-time limit for the year in which you reach your normal Social Security retirement age. And for the months before your birthday, you can make a higher income limit in that year only. So it's an exception to that age 62 and up income limit. And during the year you turn your normal Social Security retirement age, you can make up to $62,160 for 2025 in the months prior to you reaching that full Social Security age. And what age is that, you might ask? Well, it depends on when you were born. If you were born in 1960 and after, it's when you turn 67. And then, you know, below that, it's 66 and however many months. So there's a handy little chart if you need to figure it out for yourself. All right, what counts as earnings for Social Security?
Yeah, you'll notice it says on there, earnings from work. What do we mean by earnings? Well, earnings include income from wages or net earnings from self-employment. So if you've got that little booth down at the White Elephant and you're selling stuff that are, you know, providing services, self-employment, all of that's going to count toward this cap on earnings. But I've got good news for you. Earnings does not include investment income. Pensions doesn't count. Capital gains, inheritance doesn't count. Your withdrawals from the 401k doesn't count. So it doesn't negatively affect your Social Security benefits directly. So even if you can't work and do the hard 40 and stay below the cap, if you retire and you start drawing on your 401k and your pension and everything, you're probably going to stay below the cap because most of those things don't count. So is there tax on Social Security? Well, yes and no. The first 15% of your Social Security is tax-free. Even Bill Gates doesn't pay tax on the first 15% of his Social Security, and he has no idea. I'm telling you right now. You may pay tax on 0, 50, or 85% of the rest, and that's how much of it's going to be taxed, not what the tax rate is. And where does that divide up? Well, if you're single and have earnings, remember earnings from the prior earnings between $0 and $25,000. Oh wait, no, not earnings. This is income. So this would include your Social Security and your other income. If you're single and you have between 0 and 25,000, you pay no tax on that other 85%. However, if you're making more than 34,000, you're going to pay tax on the full 85%. So it's a very narrow window in which you're going to get. Is there taxes on Social Security? Well, in 37 states, your Social Security is state tax free. Yay. 13 states do tax some or all of your Social Security. Who are those bad boys? Boo. So, how much tax you pay may depend greatly on where you decide to retire. So, yeah, you want to go to New Mexico because they've got sun and culture and stuff. Yeah, you may end up paying taxes on Social Security, which you wouldn't have if you weren't in one of those 13 bad boys.
Talk to a Social Security advisor.
Exactly. So we were talking about savings, and savings says, you know, we think cash, stocks, bonds, but you may also have hidden savings. For instance, your home equity. You may find that the value of your property has gone up a whole lot since you bought it. And you probably really don't need 4 bedrooms and 3 baths anymore because it's just you and the cats. So you may want to sell that, capture a lot of that equity, and downsize. Well, that equity you just captured is now savings that you can use and spend. Also, how about life insurance? And by that, I mean any cash value of life insurance. And you remember there's 2 kinds of life insurance. There's the kind that is term insurance. It's only good for this term. If you don't die within that term, you win, lose. Yeah.
That's the kind of insurance we have from the company.
Exactly. And then there's the whole life, and it goes by a lot of different names, but whole life is the category. And that builds value as you pay premiums. And after a certain while, they'll let you borrow against that value that's inside of that life insurance. And then when you do die, and you will die, I promise you, when you do die, they'll deduct that loan from it. So savings has a lot of different looks. Pensions. Kim, what can you tell us about pensions?
Okay, so if you have a pension, it's going to be dependent on which carrier you started your career with prior to the merger, as far as how you can take that pension. And we have a lot of legacy US Airways and then legacy AA, so it's going to depend. If you're a legacy US Airways person with a PBGC pension, guess what? You could have started your career at PSA, Piedmont, Allegheny, Trump Shuttle, or the original US Airways. So if you have a legacy US Airways pension, it's covered by the PBGC. That's who you would call for information. Your early pension day, if you started at Shuttle, would be age 52. Your full pension age would be age 62. Now you can start at the early pension age, but keep in mind there's a reduction of 3% for every year between the early pension age and the full pension age. So 3%, there'd be a 3%, so that would be equal to a reduction of 30% of the value of your pension if you start at age 52. For Piedmont, Allegheny, and US Airways, the early pension age is age 55. The full pension age is age 62. For PSA, the early pension age is also 55, but the full pension age is until 65. So yikes. After the full pension age, you can be taking it with no reduction, and you can double dip at the early pension age or the late pension age. So let's talk about the legacy AA pensions. The early pension age is age 55. There's also the same 3% reduction per year prior to age 60, which is the full pension age. There is no double dipping for the legacy AA pensions, except in a few very rare circumstances. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about double dipping. Double dipping is when you can take your pension while you're still working, and the legacy US Airways, any of the PBGC pension, former TWA, Eastern are able to take those pensions while they're still working for the company. There used to be restrictions on taking your pension before the full pension age. However, those restrictions were eliminated on June 1st of 2021. And the PBGC pension holders can now double dip, as I mentioned before, at the early pension age or at the full pension age, or they can start any time in between those ages. The early reductions of the 3% per year prior to the full pension age that I mentioned before, they still apply for double dipping. And there's no reduction at the full pension age. So pension options. Patrick, how many ways can I get my money?
Funny you should ask. There are three basic ways that you can get your money. The first is the single life annuity. The PBGC calls this a straight life annuity, but the acronym SLA is true in both. And we, of course, know we're an airline. We run on jet fuel, caffeine, and acronyms. Mm-hmm. And the single life annuity is a check every month until you're dead, and then it stops. That's what most people think about when they think about a pension. We also have the share with someone else, and I do remind you, it is nice to share. And we have the minimum number of checks. So a period, we call that the period certain. And then if you're legacy AA, you also have a fourth option, which is the more upfront, less later. And in our pension estimates, we call that the level income option. So let's look at those. The single life annuity is you get a check every month until you're dead, and then it stops. So that, like I said, that's pretty much what most people think of when they think about a pension. An annuity is a payment every month. We've got a lot of annuities in our life. This one is money coming in for you. It's for life, so we call that a life annuity. It's for one life, yours, and that's where we get the phrase single life annuity or the straight life annuity. And SLA is the normal form of benefit. Oh, what do we mean by normal? Well, most people, or a lot of people, will take the single life annuity because they don't want to share their pension with someone else. And also, do you remember when we were talking about trying to figure out how much I should be saving in order to reach my target on my 401k? The company has that same issue when trying to figure out how much they should save into your pension in order to make the payments when you're ready for your pension. And they have to make some assumptions, like they have to assume how long you're going to live, how long are you going to work for us, how much are you going to make, and what form of benefit are you going to take. And they assume you're going to take the single life annuity. So that's the normal form of benefit. And they take all those numbers and they calculate out a value. And that value for the single life annuity is what determines all the other payment options. Well, let's talk about those other options. First off, it's nice to share, and that's a pension for your life and someone else's life as well. They will get an annuity for their life after you're gone. You never get two checks at the same time. You get a check, you die, and then they get it. And they survived you in order to get it, so we call that the survivor annuity. Now remember, it's still all the same big pile of money, and you can choose to leave them 50% to 100% of what you're getting. Now, not your SLA amount, because when you elect this, you get less, but they get 50 to 100% of your share of the joint annuity. But here's the problem. The more you leave them, the less you get while you're alive. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to do it because Bozo's going to end up living under a bridge unless I leave them something. So I'm just going to bite the bullet and take less while I'm alive so they've got something after I'm gone. But what happens if they die first? Dang it, I am stuck at the lower monthly amount. I could have had a higher amount by taking the SLA, but I was covering for Bozo, so I took that risk and I lost. But I've got news for you. There is a way to cover that risk. Flight attendants have another option called the pop-up option. By taking a slightly lower amount each month, you can cover that risk that the joint annuity dies first. Now, I know you married that 32-year-old pool boy, and you go girl, by the way. But life is uncertain, and it could happen. If you took the pop-up option, if the joint annuitant dies first, some strange flooring accident or something, you pop back up to the single life annuity amount as though you never elected it. And most people are going to take one of these two options, single life annuity or the survivor. And most people who take the survivor take the pop-up because it's just cheap insurance and life is uncertain. But there is another option, and it's called the guaranteed period certain. And what that says is that once your checks start coming to you, they're going to come for 10, 15, or 20 years, LAA, or 5, 10, or 15 years with LUS. You get to choose. And those checks will come whether you die or not. Well, that's weird. Why would you do that? Well, remember I said that the joint annuitant, that it's how much they get is dependent on their age. So the joint annuitant may be so young that your amount you get drops dramatically if you plug them in. By going with this option, you can give them a higher amount, but for a limited amount of time. And like I say, very few people will ever take this. Usually it's people that are terminal and they've got some unfilled promises, like getting their kids through college. And by giving them 10, 15, or 20 years of the pension after that's left after you've gone, they can help fulfill some of that. There's also one other option.
Wait, isn't there, like, if you live past the 10, 15, or 20 years, basically you made the wrong choice because the pension's gonna continue for you as long as you live.
Absolutely.
And the ability to leave it to somebody else ends at the 10, 15, or 20 years.
Exactly.
But you're stuck with the lower amount for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So if
Exactly.
you live longer than that, just be prepared. It's gonna be the same, but the ability to leave it to somebody else will end after that period of time.
Exactly, and that's why it's not a very popular option, is because you may assume you're going to die soon and you don't, so you win or lose again. I forget which way that is, but yeah. So yeah, good, very good point. No matter which of these you take, if you live longer than the guarantee period certain, you still get a check. It's not like it stops. But once you pass the end of the guarantee period certain, your annuitant gets, or your beneficiary gets, nothing. Hey, Legacy A has a fourth option. It's called the level income option, and it's more upfront, less later. And this is even less popular than the other one. And the people that it makes sense for is people that need money now, and can't wait until Social Security kicks in. So you're getting your pension, but it's not enough. When Social Security kicks in, it will be maybe sort of enough, but you're not there yet. So AA says, we got a deal for you. We're going to give you more now and your pension. And then when Social Security kicks in, we'll drop it not only back to where it was, but lower, so that on average it levels out. So the level income option. The only people I see take this are usually people that didn't plan on retiring. They took the sudden out. Their doctor said you're never flying again. So people that didn't get to plan and don't have a solid financial foundation, this is one option. I'm not sure it's even actuarially accurate, but yeah, it's out there if you need it, and we always like to have options. So how do I apply for my pension? Well, no earlier than 90 days before you start your pension. Not 91. They'll tell you no. At LAA, you can request a kit over the phone by calling the AA Pension Service Center at Fidelity. And when they answer, the machine answers just say pensions, or probably even easier than trying to wait online for an agent. You can go to the netbenefits.com AA select collect tab under pensions and follow the prompts. If you have an LUS pension, you can contact the PBGC directly at the 800-400-7242 number that you have to call for everything with the PBGC, or you can go online. Their work, I heard that they actually will allow you to file a claim now for your pension online. For the longest time, it's been, no, we're working on that. So that may or may not be there. Is there tax on pensions? Well, of course there is. You pay federal tax on pensions as ordinary income, 10 to 37% rate, depending on which tax bracket you're in. Here's the tax brackets. So, hey, if you're making 95 to 182,000 as a single person, you're in the 24% tax bracket. So you'll pay tax on whatever bracket the Social Security payment puts you into. Some states don't tax pensions. There are 14 states that only tax a portion of your pension. So remember, your mileage may vary. The numbers used for this are some mythical flight attendant and not for you. Kim, what can you tell us about pension tips?
Okay, so a few pension tips. Pension kits can be requested, as we mentioned, from AA/Fidelity or the PBGC no more than 90 days out from your retirement date or your benefit commencement date, which is usually your retirement date, but not always. Sometimes people retire when they're younger and they're not eligible to start their pension right away. So their benefit commencement date would not necessarily be their retirement date. Right, pensions always start on the first of the calendar month. You want to be done with your last trip before the end of the pension calendar month. And usually these days with the retirement notification form, it removes you from any trips after that retirement date. So that should not be a problem, but it doesn't hurt to double check. Fly through trips, if there was one that somehow remained on your schedule, would keep you on payroll, and that would delay your pension for a month because you can't be employed and, well, if you're LAA, you can't be employed and getting your pension at the same time. All right, so you need, if you've been divorced while you were at the company earning that pension, you need copies of your divorce decrees and quadros if you have a quadro. or your pension could be delayed because you tell them so-and-so is not going to get anything in your divorce agreement. They don't want to believe you. They want to see it in writing. So they are going to request a copy of your divorce paperwork before they will commence your pension benefits.
I'm shocked that they don't believe me about my ex.
If you're a widow or a widower, provide a copy of the death certificate with the pension benefit. The first month, as we've mentioned, well, we haven't mentioned this yet. It's always paid retroactively for the PBGC. I don't know if you let them know soon enough, it might be paid on time, but for the LAA pensions, because you can't actually start your pension until you retire, Fidelity's going to wait until they get a message on the retirement date or the day after from the company saying you've retired before they even start to process your pension paperwork. So you're always going to get that first pension check about 2 to 4 weeks after your retirement date. Sometimes, for instance, if you were going to retire on January 1st, you would get both your pension for January and February on February 1st. And then after that, it should come like clockwork on the first day of any calendar month. All right, so there's something called the Qualified Pre-Retirement Survivor Annuity, commonly known as the QPSA form, and it's available to the legacy AA flight attendants who have AA pensions. Federal law says if you are married, your spouse automatically gets 50% joint survivor annuity if you pass away before you commence your pension. So this QPSA form is something that would allow you to leave 100%, up to 100% of your pension to your spouse if you were to die before commencing your pension benefits. And the form can be found on the Net Benefits website. So if you can't find it on there, give Fidelity a call and they'll walk you through where to find it. One caveat, flight attendants are actually the only work group that can get this, and the company pays. If you're a pilot, you have to pay a fee. You pay a cost. It comes out of your pension later on if you do this QPSA form, but not for the flight attendants. It was contractually negotiated a while back. You must be married at least 12 months in order to put your spouse down in the QPSA form. So no deathbed marriages, darn, you know. So I would be tempted to do that if I wasn't married and I wanted to leave the money to someone, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. All right, any questions about pensions?
Can I put my cat on my QPSA? Just kidding.
No, but I'm working on it.
You could probably do a trust.
Yeah. Can I leave my cat all of my things? All right. So if I decide to retire at age 59, am I forced to take my pension, or can I wait until age 60 so that I get the full amount?
Actually, that's a great question, because these are all separate steps. Your retirement is one step, starting your pension is another step, starting your Social Security is a third step. When you decide to take money out of your 401k is a fourth step. When you take money out of your IRA is a fifth. So think about someone who, say, age 50, and they've got 15 years of company seniority, they're eligible to retire. They're not even eligible to start their pension or Social Security yet. So as they reach those points, say they reach 60 and are eligible to start taking their pension, they can start their pension, even though they've been retired for 10 years. And then they decide at 67, they're going to take their Social Security. Well, they've been retired for 17 years before they start their Social Security. So they're discrete steps. Nobody forces you to take any money early just because you stopped working.
What is the magic number to receive our pension?
Well, funny you should ask. The magic number, yeah, if you go to the good slide packet, you'll find for the LAA pension on page 15, what pension, when you're eligible to start taking your pension, and it's based on how many paid years of pension credit you have, called retirement eligibility service. And what age you leave the company. If you leave the company at 65 plus, you're automatically eligible for the pension. There's no how long we had to. And then all the way down to, if you have 15 or more years of retirement eligibility service, you can take your full pension at 60 with no reduction, or 55 with a 3% per year reduction that Kim was talking about before. So there's not really a magic number. There's, do you qualify to take it, and when do you want to take it?
Okay. Will this town hall be recorded? Yes, it will be. It is recorded. All of our town halls are recorded and published to the retirement page of the APFA website. We'll send this recording out via hotline whenever we're finished.
And we leave them on because of the questions asked can vary from presentation to presentation, even though the basic presentation is the same. But keep in mind that any presentation before this one will have some old contractual information in it.
I do have to say, this is, this question was submitted from someone that I knew prior to even becoming a flight attendant. So it's really cool to see a question come through from someone I know. I want to retire early at 62. How do I wait to receive my pension if I retire at 62? This is a LAA flight attendant.
They will not send it to you until you ask for it. So just don't ask for it.
But keep in mind that age 60 is the full pension age for LAA with no reduction. So if you retire at age 62, you're eligible to start taking your pension at the full rate right away. So.
Cutting Social Security benefits if you have a pension. If so, when does it take effect?
Well, we don't know yet, because that's just merely speculative that there's going to be a change to Social Security. It will be interesting to see what tax bills get introduced this year in the new legislature. So we don't have an answer for you.
And I don't think it's not going to be a popular one if to get through. I don't think anybody on any side, no matter their politics, is going to like their Social Security benefits to be cut if they have a pension. So we'll see if it passes.
And I do want to observe the old people vote. It's probably not going to be politically feasible to make that happen, but you never know.
When making a choice from your pension options and when receiving that benefit, can changes be made along the way should life events occur other than the death of a spouse?
No. That's a short answer, but no. When you make that election on how you want to take your pension and you fill out that form, it's in there bold type, no modifications. So you pick your spouse, your loving 30-year spouse, and you start your pension, and then find out that the only reason the marriage worked is you were gone 3 days a week, and now you're divorced. Can you make a change? No. No, it's done. It's in stone.
If you work the hard 40, can you put 50% of it to your 401k so you don't make enough to get taxed?
Possibly.
No, because you're putting earnings into the 401k, and the fact that you're avoiding taxes on it doesn't mean it's not earnings.
Please review the info, read date to retire. I thought if you retire December 31st, 2024, that you can get pension on January 1st, 2025. Seems like y'all said to retire on the 1st of any month. Wouldn't you be missing that month's pension if you did retire on the 1st?
No, if you retire on the 1st, you are retired on the 1st, which means your last day as an active employee would be the 31st of December. So you are eligible for a pension payment for that month. You will, if you're LAA and probably PBGC, if you haven't started it, you're not likely to actually get that payment on the 1st, but you will get paid for the month of January. So it's based on, if you retire on January 1st, you are a retiree on that day. So your last day as an active employee would be the 31st of December.
LAA flight attendant, can I double dip if I'm on a medical leave and out of sick time. So my income qualifies for me to double dip. Can I file for the double dip while I'm on medical leave?
When you say double dip, are you talking about
Social
pension or
Security.
social security? The pension, no, because you gotta be retired to get the pension. And with social security, here's the problem, you're not getting income, so you turn on your social security. And then you get well enough to go back to work. I don't know that you can turn off social security.
I think you can pause it and get more credits, but I'm not sure if that you're able to come back and get a higher rate later on or not.
No,
Talk
you,
to a social security advisor.
yeah, that's one of those very weird,
Uh-huh.
tweaky things.
Uh-huh.
There is a weird thing, if you can change your mind once with social security within the first 12 months. So say you're 65, you need to wait till 67 to be like, yeah, I want it now. You start it with the reduction within the first 12 months, you can fill out a form because it's government and give all the money back and say do over. You can do that once, but you got to give all the money back. So, and if you're double dipping because you're out on sick, that's probably not useful for you.
Would it be more advantageous to choose the 62 level income annuity over the SLA in order to receive more money to invest elsewhere straight away? Is there any downside?
Just depends on your situation. It may be best for you and not be best for somebody else. You know, if you know when that income lowers at your full social security age or at age 62, that you're going to be fine at that lower pension rate, then take the money and invest it. If you know, if you have a question, if you look at this big pile of money, but not at the lower rate that you're going to get later on, and that lower rate hits and you go, wait, I've been living on all this money. How am I going to survive at this lower rate? You didn't make the right choice. So it can work fine, but you have to budget for it.
Yeah, and if you're pretty sure you're gonna die soon, that's a good choice. Take the money now, because you're not worried about eating at age 90. If you're not sure.
A vacation question. Can you clarify the accrual months? Is it May to April or January, December? For example, if you retired August 1st, 2025, would you have accrued vacation for May, June, July, or January through July?
January through July, we accrue in the calendar year. We take our vacations in a little bit of a delayed vacation year. We accrue vacation during the regular calendar year.
All
So
right,
if you work January through July and retire on August 1st, you're going to get paid accrual for January through July.
beautiful. We are good to continue.
Okay, what's next? Medical insurance options. Okay, so at the very beginning, we said, we talked about, you know, Medicare, we talked about other medical insurance options. So here we go. Such as it is. So there's COBRA, and you notice the little dollar signs. It's giving you an idea of how expensive these various medical insurance options are. COBRA is pretty costly. The AA retiree medical insurance, even more costly than COBRA. Yikes. That's why not too many people take it. And another option is the Affordable Care Act. It can be inexpensive or more expensive depending on the state you live in and whether you qualify for any subsidies. Medicare, it's comparable to what we're paying as active employees, really. Could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what plan you're in with AA. The old-fashioned way, you can marry somebody with insurance, always a good option, or die young, but we don't like that option. Nah, never mind. Okay, so let's talk about COBRA. COBRA allows you, it's a law, and it allows you the ability to continue your active health coverage that you had prior to retirement. You don't have to establish your deductible. That's a positive. The participant pays the full cost plus a 2% admin fee. That's a negative because that makes it pretty expensive for most people. The coverage lasts up to 18 months. It can last a little bit longer if your COBRA was triggered by you being on a disability. It must be taken within the first 60 days of leaving the company or whatever your COBRA life event was. So 60 days of, you're running out of active medical if you're on a medical leave, or within 60 days of retiring if it's a retirement life event for getting COBRA. It's a one-shot deal. So if you miss that 60-day enrollment, they're not going to come back and offer it to you again. So more about COBRA. It can include medical, dental, vision, and flexible spending, and you can pick and choose the coverage that you want. So as I mentioned before, it doesn't really make sense for a person who has Medicare to do COBRA medical, because Medicare's COBRA is always secondary to Medicare, and you're basically double paying for the same thing. But many retirees do elect to go on Medicare for their medical and continue their dental and vision with COBRA. So that's how you can sort of mix and match. Once the coverage begins, it's retroactive to the date that you left American Airlines. So if you retire on January 1st and you sign up, 30 days later, it's retroactive. You can't get away without paying for the month of January if you sign up for it. And also, you can sign up more quickly by going on the Benefits Service Center in the retirees website and making your elections. So basically, you don't want to be late ever with your payments on COBRA, or you will be dropped. And again, to reiterate that COBRA and Medicare, if you're eligible for Medicare, COBRA is not considered to be creditable coverage as an alternative to Medicare. So you can go, I'm too stressed out, I don't want to sign up for Medicare, I'll just go on COBRA for a couple of months and then sign up. No, it doesn't work that way. You'll get screwed, so don't do it. Medicare is always primary, COBRA is always secondary once you're eligible for Medicare. So if you try and do that, even if you don't sign up for Medicare for a few months, the COBRA is going to pay as though it is secondary to Medicare. So you're not going to get the full benefit from the COBRA, and it's expensive. So just go ahead and sign up for Medicare. COBRA is always secondary. Once again, we can't reiterate that enough. So AA retiree medical insurance. Yes, it does exist. So if you're retiring between the ages of 55 and 65, and you're eligible for the 65-point plan, you can elect AA retiree medical insurance. It's what we once pre-funded for prior to the bankruptcy, but that went away, unfortunately. So the participant pays the full cost of this coverage, and it is not cheap. The price is uncapped. It actually doubled in 2015, and it's very unstable. So let's give an example of how it works. Really, it is great coverage. Looks fabulous on paper, individual maximum benefit, $300,000, $150 deductible. That's unheard of, $1,000 out of pocket max. Sounds fabulous, but let's look at the price. For 2025, for one individual, $2,762 a month. Yikes. I think even if I didn't have a fainting goat, I would have fainted. My cat would have fainted at the cost, so it's not feasible for a lot of people. So another option, if you can't stomach that cost or the COBRA, you can try to find something on, healthcare.gov, an Affordable Care Act plan. So, like I said, websites, www.healthcare.gov. Perhaps if your income is low enough, you could qualify for tax credits, so that some people in their lower retirement income do qualify for a subsidy. One way to find out about Affordable Care Act plans is with VIA Benefits. They're a company that AA contracts with, and they will assist you if you're under the age of 65 to find an Affordable Care Act plan. If you're over the age of 65 and you need help finding a Medicare plan that works for you, they can assist you with that as well. So we have their information in the retirement packet, and www.my.viabenefits.com, /American Airlines. All right, Medicare. Now, people get really nervous about signing up for Medicare, and yes, it's a government thing, and they make it more complicated than it should be, but you guys, you can handle it. And there are lots of experts out there that can help you signing up for Medicare. And as Josh mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, it is the annual Medicare enrollment period. So that means if you are not on Medicare, you can sign up always and you're eligible for Medicare, you can sign up during the annual enrollment period. But the annual enrollment period is for starting on January of 2025. So if you're retiring prior to January of 2025, you don't want to sign up like you're doing the annual enrollment period. You want to sign up because you're retiring before January 1st and you have what's called a special enrollment period. And it's a little bit confusing because right now, most of the Medicare agents out there are going to be signing people up for the annual enrollment. But if you're going to retire on December 1st, you need to tell them, hey, I'm retiring now. I'm not doing annual enrollment. I'm doing a special enrollment period. So basically, employees and spouses over the age of 65, as long as you're still working, you can stay on AA insurance until you retire. So you don't have to sign up for Medicare. Everyone's going to tell you have to sign up for Medicare or you'll be penalized. That's not the case. There's a form that you can fill out and have the company fill out to say you've had coverage. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And using that form, showing you had creditable coverage from AA. When you sign up for Medicare Part B after the age of 65, they're going to say, okay, you've had creditable coverage from your company. We're not going to assess you any late enrollment period penalties. So Medicare Part A, Part B, and Part D, that's what it's comprised of. You will need to sign up for all of those. And if you don't sign up after you retire, you know, because the form, they do a 60-day look back. So if you delay signing up, you could incur late enrollment penalties. So it's really important to kind of get this all in order and try and start the process at least 60 days before your projected retirement date. So the Medicare Employment Verification Form, that is available on the Medicare website. If you want, I can always email it to you as well. I send it out a lot to people. This is the form that you fill out. You fax it to the company, to the Benefits Service Center. It's not your supervisor. It's not AAHR. It's the Benefits Service Center. And they will fill it out showing that you've had coverage since you turned 65. Then once you get it back, and they snail mail it back to you, once you get it back in your hand, you take this form along with the application for Medicare Part B to your local Social Security office, and they will get you signed up for Medicare Part B. Once you're signed up for Medicare Part B, then the next step is you have to call a broker and you talk to them about which Medicare Part D, which is the drug plan, and which Medicare supplement plan or advantage plan would work best for you. So that's kind of the steps. And really, it's good to talk to a Medicare advisor. They can guide you through the whole process. The main thing that we remind you about is if you're over the age of 65 when you retire, you should try and send this form into the company at least 60 days prior to your retirement date. All right. So Medicare, other than Medicare Part A, which is your hospitalization coverage, and your Part B, which is your doctor's visits and labs and so on, there are Medicare Medigap policies. And a Medigap policy is what gives you your out-of-pocket max, because with Medicare, there's a Part D deductible, Part B deductible, and a Part D deductible, but there's no out-of-pocket max. So that means you're paying 20%, Medicare's paying 80%. If you don't have a out-of-pocket max and some health crisis arises, your 20% could keep growing and growing and growing, and there's not a cap. So if you choose a Medigap policy, that's what gives you the out-of-pocket max. There are 10 different Medigap plans available. Those are the ones that A through F and N and G. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. And some of them are better if you're an airline retiree and you're planning on traveling. Some of them have a limited amount of coverage if you're out of the country and so on. So Again, talk to a Medicare advisor about the difference between the plans, and they will explain it all to you. AA retirees also have an 11th option. It's a Viva trust. It's a trust that was set up when several airlines went bankrupt. And it's just another option of a Medigap type plan that's available for retired airline workers. And we do have a number you can call. I don't know a whole lot about the plan, whether it's better or worse than the other Medigap plans out there, but I do have a number you can call for more information. Medicare Part C is where Medicare is privatized to a health insurance company, and kind of like an HMO. So those are the Medicare Advantage plans. I would say right now, I'm hearing negative things about the Medicare Advantage plans. So I would be cautious and really do your homework. It could be that in your state, the Medicare Advantage plans are wonderful, or in your area, but really do your due diligence, because I've heard just in the news recently about, some doctors and hospital networks maybe not accepting Medicare Advantage anymore. So just make sure you know what you're signing up for. Don't sign up for it because it's the cheapest necessarily. You have to look at your overall health, and normally as we get older, we tend to have more health issues. So keep that in mind when you're making these decisions. So again, Medicare Advantage is privatizing Medicare, kind of similar to an HMO, although they do now have PPOs as Medicare Advantage plans. And again, please consult a Medicare advisor who really understands how these plans work before you make your final decision. And you can always go to www.medicare.gov. They've got really good information. They have a handbook called Medicare and You that they put out every year. That's very, very helpful. All right, so we've covered a lot of important questions today. We've discussed what do you need to retire? What do you get? What about income? So now we're going to talk about all those other little strange detail things that, what else do I need to research? So here goes. Life events, optional insurance coverage, what happens with those? Dental insurance, we've talked a little bit about that. Flexible spending accounts. So let's talk about life events. So one thing to remember is that when you retire, and if your spouse is still working, it's their life event to add you to their benefits. So when you retire, the day of your retirement, from that date, your spouse's company will give them either 30 days or 60 days, depending on their rules, to add you to their insurance benefits. So if you're planning to retire and go on a spouse's benefit, keep in mind that your retirement date will trigger that life event. If you're married to another AA employee, remember that when you switch to their insurance, even if you've been working all year, and you're retiring December 1st, hey, I'm going to go on my spouse's benefit. Guess what? They treat it like another plan. It's not like COBRA. So you have to start the deductible and out of pocket all over again. So maybe, wait another month and retire on January 1st, start fresh with the new year. That's another reason that might make sense for you. Okay, optional insurance coverage. Examples of optional insurance that we get through AA are Hyatt Legal, long-term care policies, home and auto policies, pet insurance, employee. Okay, so all the first category that I just talked about can be continued into your retirement. So you just call up the administrator. I think you can get to the administrators of all these various policies through AA added benefits. And I think they changed MetLife. They did something about MetLife Legal. It's now listed with the core benefits. So I don't know if you have to call AA added benefits or just a light to find out about the MetLife Legal. But I do know when I did my benefits enrollment this year, the MetLife Legal was included with the other core benefits. So,
which is nice.
Yes, but you can continue all of those after your retirement. They're already pretty much individual plans that you're paying for, but you get, a better rate because American Airlines has a lot of people in those plans. So employee life insurance and accident insurance will end. But you have the option to port or convert these policies into an individual policy and within 30 to 60 days of your retirement. So if you want to do that, you need to call MetLife for the life insurance and New York Life for the AD&D, and they'll tell you what you need to do. Now the policies, the good thing about them is you don't have to do a physical exam or answer any health questions. So that's good if you want to continue these. The bad thing is that they're more expensive when you convert them to an individual policy. So you might want to just port or convert. Say you had the 70,000 from the company and you bought up several levels above that. You may want to reduce it down and only port or convert like 20,000 of the insurance or something, you know. So it depends on what your needs are. Okay, your long-term and short-term disability coverage will end, the coverage ends, but if you filed a claim prior to your retirement and that claim is still active, these coverages will continue to pay out for that claim until you're no longer disabled or you run out of benefits. So the payments can continue if you're still eligible and you're still disabled per the provisions of the plan. Dental insurance, yikes. So this one is getting better. It was really like when I started doing this job that there were dental options were few and far between. So that's why we have this scary picture, because it seems like once you're retiring, nobody wants to help you with your teeth. And guess what? You need help with your teeth even after you retire. So AA is going to offer you some MetLife retiree dental insurance. Most people do not take it. It is zip code rated. It's a high dollar for what the benefit that you get. So really there's better options out there these days. Almost nobody takes this coverage. However, as I said before, well, many people do continue their dental coverage through COBRA for as long as they can, because that's a continuation of the active dental coverage that we have, you know, when we're working. Another option is the AA Credit Union Dental Club through Benefit Services of America. It's not really insurance, but it's a network of dentists that will give you a discount if you go to one of them. I think Costco has something similar that a lot of people sign up for. Go to dental schools and be a guinea pig, and you know, once the bleeding stops, your teeth will look great. But actually, that's a good option, and a lot of people try that as well. So, as I said, it's getting better. A lot of, if you're talking to a Medicare advisor, ask them about dental coverages, because now a lot of Medicare supplement plans and Advantage plans have dental. You can pay a little extra for dental coverage, which is good. All right, your flex spending accounts. So normally when you go through the year and you go, oops, I forgot to use my flex spending. If it's more than $500, you're going to lose that money. $500 will roll over to the next year, but normally with a flex spending account, if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, when you retire, there's a little loophole that you can take advantage of. So you know you're putting into a flex spending, you elect to put it in a certain amount, say, you know, $100 a month, $1,200 a year, and you decide, I'm going to retire maybe in March. So on January 15th or, you know, first of the year, you're eligible to use all the funds in your flex spending account. So you use the whole $1,200 in January or February, and then you retire in March. You've made $200 worth of deposit, but you've had, you know, $1,200 worth of benefits. If you retire on March 1st, the company will not come after you for that money. So this is the one time where you use it and they lose it, pretty much. So a lot of people, you know, maybe don't retire right at the first of the year so they can maximize their FSA deposit and then retire. All right, it's your turn to decide. Are you ready to retire? I think Patrick might have a few words about that.
Well, actually, I do.
He always has
I always have a couple of words. We are not ignorant that we've talked about a lot of stuff today. There are a lot of moving pieces, but it's absolutely nothing you can't handle. You get on an airplane with 168 people back there and boarding and seat dupes and kids in the wrong row and all this stuff going on, and you just handle it with a smile on your face, or at least tightly pursed lips. But yeah, so I'm confident that you can do it. How are you going to do it? Well, I suggest that you start a list. And we've started a list for you on page 37 of the Good Slide packet. You'll find the start of a list, and use that and add things to it. How do you do a list? How many times have you been through CQ?
We should know that.
One task, step at a time, in order, just like the planned emergency checklist. I like to think of it as sort of a planned departure checklist, and it will work wonders. Why? Because you've never done this before. None of us have. Retirement's kind of one of those one-time things. So don't try and wing it. Because you will be overwhelmed. So I recommend a list. And lastly, you've never done this before. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions of APFA. We probably have answered. Ask questions of the company. Ask questions of Fidelity. Ask questions of your financial planner. Yeah, you're beginning to get the feeling that you probably need to talk to a financial planner about this. But once you start to get all of these checklist items covered, you've got your questions answered, guess what? You're prepared.
Yay!
You got this. You're ready. Let's go. Good slide. Questions?
Right. I'm friends with an AA retiree who has United Healthcare Medicare supplemental insurance through AA. Is this available to current retirees, as she has been retired for many years? It appears she participates in a similar retiree portal open enrollment as active employees.
That plan was available to people who retired prior to the bankruptcy in 2012. So anyone who retired before that, November 1st of 2012, had pre-funded medical benefits. And there's a plan that once they turn 65, if they had any money left in their insurance pot, they get that AA, and it's a Medicare Advantage plan through United Healthcare. Anyone who retired after November 1st of 2012 does not have access to that plan.
Why are they taking Medicare from my check now? And I'm not 65 yet, not ready to retire yet.
Well, they take a lot of different things out of your check. They take Social Security, FUTA, FICA, and the Medicare tax you've been paying your whole career. And the tax is actually 2.9. You pay 1.45. American pays 1.45. And the reason it looks new is that they used to call it something weird, and you didn't recognize that you were pre-funding your Medicare Part A for your entire career. And that's what appears on your paycheck as a Medicare deduction. If that's not what we're talking about, call us back.
Anybody who's employed is paying that.
Yeah.
And really, your Medicare Part A, which is free when you turn 65, it's not actually free. You've been paying for it all along.
Yeah.
It's just once you hit that age, you don't have to actually pay for it because you've been pre-funding it.
Yeah. Two things guaranteed in life.
You pay for it.
Death and taxes. Is Medicare considered a tax?
It depends on who you ask.
Okay.
It's a tax because you can't get out of paying it. It's not a tax because it doesn't go towards your tax burden when the government tries to tell you how much tax you pay.
When I work past 65 in 2027, does it become cheaper to go on Medicare supplemental or Medicare Advantage than to continue on AA's benefits for medical insurance?
So in 2027, you're going to have to look at the prices for both because they both change. Medicare prices go up a little bit every year. AA health benefits go up a little bit every year. So what you're going to have to do is do a comparison at that time of the 2027 costs and then decide what's going to be best for you. We can't really answer that.
Timing of retirement. Can retire on February 28th and start Medicare and or Social Security on March 1st, even though March 1st is part of the February contractual month.
Yes, because Medicare and Social Security and your pensions have nothing to do with the flight attendant contractual month. They're all based on an actual calendar month.
My understanding is Medicare is based on the last 2 to 3 years of income.
Actually, what the Medicare premium you pay is based on how much money you're earning. And since we don't know how much money you're going to earn this year, we look back at the money you made 2 and 3 years ago. If you go to the good slide packet on page 30, you'll see a chart that says if you made more than 500, and I believe the new number is $560,000 a year, that you're going to be paying $395 a month for your Medicare premium instead of the $170 that everyone else is paying. But don't worry about it. If you made $500,000 last year, it's okay.
And some people will try and defray that by just playing the hard 40 for a year or two before they retire, you know, so.
Yeah, and clearly if you had $500,000 of income, you're probably not a flight attendant. Your income is driving that. It's probably you married someone that did well.
Or you have another very lucrative business.
Another lucrative job. Are you hiring? By the way, from home?
My understanding is that there's a federal law. You don't need to retire to get your pension for legacy AA if you're over 72 and are still employed, but your income is less than your pension for the 2 previous years. This refers to the double dip question.
It's not a federal law. There's a couple of IRS regulations that can affect your ability to get your pension for LAA while you're still working. One of them is that after age 70 and a half, there's a very gradual actuarial increase to your pension every month. So your pension that's been static for 10 and a half years will start growing very gradually. And then another one is that at that age, after that age, they start doing a look back at your average income over the last 3 years, not 2 years. So they'll start doing this audit of your income over the last 3 years. And if all of a sudden, due to your pension gradually increasing, maybe you're flying the same amount, maybe you're flying less. You know, some people start flying the hard 40 only. Some people have to go off and care for a spouse or a parent, so they're on a medical leave or just not flying as much because of that. With the actuarial increase, the amount of their monthly pension is higher than the amount of their average monthly income over the last 3 years. The IRS says the company has to let you start taking your LAA pension while you're still working. And maybe only a dozen people get to do that every year. You know, it's not very many. I know, especially with the new pay increase that we just got, my pension is never going to be more than the hard 40.
At about 110, I think is when my pension will be.
Even if I'm flying only the hard 40 for 3 years, that's going to be higher than my pension amount. Unless I work until well over the age of 80, then it might happen, you know. So it can happen for some people. It does happen for some people. And if you want more information about the actual regulations, email me and I can send you some information about it.
How can we estimate our COBRA costs?
We get the COBRA every year, the COBRA rates for the upcoming year. So they should also be on my.aa.com, or you can call the Benefits Service Center. But either our department, the health department here at APFA, the company benefits people can give you that information if you need it. And we have it, Patrick, you want to say what the?
Yeah, page 25.
Page 25 of our retirement packet that's already updated for 2025, and the new one that I'm going to start sending out today. It's not on the website yet until sometime next week.
Did you say that the COBRA dental benefits are the same what we pay now through the employer-sponsored insurance?
I did not say that they're the same cost. That our dental insurance coverage that we get from the company as employees is not as heavily subsidized as the medical coverage. So, you know, our dental may be like, I don't know how much a month it is active, but it's about $30 a month or something. for a COBRA. So that's not prohibitive. The dental insurance under COBRA is not prohibitive, even though it's a little bit more expensive than what we're paying as active employees.
Does my younger non-employed spouse become eligible for Medicare when I do?
No,
If you're on Medicare, if you're on a regular insurance, your spouse could be on your insurance. If you're on Medicare, you and your spouse are on your own, basically.
you, your spouse, and your kids
Yes.
are all on your own.
All right, well, that was our last question. We've reached the end of our town hall today. I want to thank everyone for being on today. Again, this is recorded and it will go out via hotline over the next couple of days once we get the recording downloaded. And as Kim indicated, the new retirement packet will be on the APFA website in the upcoming few days. And we'll make sure we have a hotline go out for our next retirement seminar that we'll have in, I guess, December.
Maybe
No,
December.
Maybe December,
if we
maybe,
can
maybe
fit
the
one
first of
in.
the year if we can fit one in.
Definitely the first of the year, if not December.
So before we leave, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom?
No, just call us if you have questions. I know there's a lot of people are confused about the RHRA still and so on. So we're getting used to our new contractual benefits. I don't know if we mentioned our new 401k that we're getting 5% company contribution without doing anything. The company's going to put 5% of our income into our 401k.
Thank you,
That's
APFA.
huge. I mean, before with the combination of the company contribution and the match, it was 5.5%. So we're almost
Huge.
getting the full amount that we got before for free from the company every month.
So,
And then the 4% match.
yes,
So it's 9% if you do both.
so at least do the 4%.
At least
At
put
very
4% into your 401k so you get the match. And then everybody will get the company
So
contribution.
you get the 5 plus your 4.
Yep.
Plus
Plus their
their 4.
Yep. So, and also for new hires, if there's some of you on, you can start contributing to your 401k right away from day one. Your company contribution and match will kick in after 12 months. And then after 24 months, if you leave before 24 months, you're not going to get to keep the money that the company put in. So if you're going to leave, wait till after 2 years, stick it out for at least 2 years, because then you'll get everything you put in, which they can never take away, and everything that the company
So it's
put in.
vested after 2 years. Yes. The other thing I recommend to our new members when they come through APFA is at least do the minimum, which is 4. And then if you can do more, do more. Especially when you first start out. If you start out at a set percentage, you're used to that. And it's
Exactly.
easier than doing it later down the road and you feel a little bit of a hit to your paycheck. I also recommend doing the annual increase.
Right, and we just got the raise, and I know a lot of, especially the new hires, were really, scrimping and saving to get by. So maybe because you're going to get two raises a year, maybe until you hit the max of our pay, maybe on the first raise of the year, you keep it and use that for you. And then the second raise, you try and save that amount. There's things you can do, but try, once you hit a point where you're okay living on it, any raises after that, try and start saving at least part of them.
Any thoughts?
And also if there are issues that anyone's having, but particularly the new hires, because we are trying to have more presentations targeted at you guys, let us know your concerns. Let us know the things you're facing, why you're tempted to dip into your 401k when you shouldn't, and then maybe we can help you or point you in the directions of getting some advice about that.
The only comment I would have is that there's a lot of new stuff. Our new contract had so many new elements to it, most of which were amazing, by the way. RHRA, the match, that a lot of people get confused about what's current. And it doesn't help that some of it's in effect now, some of it's coming in January, some of it's coming. So when you hear things that sound a little bizarre or a little strange, question it. Don't just because you heard it on the jump seat, think that that's actually the way things are today. Things have changed but I've been here a while, more than a minute, and things have changed amazingly. We were talking the other day about how in the old days you'd get fired and they'd keep your vacation pay because there was no state law that said you had to be paid a vacation pay that you'd earned. Now, of course, there are enough states that have that rule that they just give you your vacation pay when you go rather than have to fight a lawsuit.
Plus we have contractual language.
Yeah, we have contractual language on that. Thank you, APFA.
Yay.
And if it sounds questionable, double check on it. And then lastly, once you've done your research, trust yourself. You're better than you think you are.
Great.
And I have one more thing.
Yeah, go.
I just thought of it. There's a new rule that came in with the Secure Act that goes into effect in 2025, and it's for maximum, we just all, some of us put money into our 401k from the retro pay, and if this had gone into effect for 2024, I would have been able to put more into my 401k because this new rule for 401k catch-up contributions is in effect for if you are starting in 2025, if you're 60, 61, 62, or 63, you have a higher catch-up contribution amount for your 401k of $11,500 instead of $7,500, it's $11,500, but it's only for that age. So between 50 and 60, you can put in your regular 7,500, which could go up every year. And then between 60 and 63, you can put in 11,500 if you want to, if you have enough money to put that in for a catch-up contribution. And then after age 63, it goes back down to the 7,500 again. So just something to keep in mind if you're in that age range, you're getting ready to think about retirement and you're going, how can I get more money in my 401k before I retire?
Good to know. We received a last minute submission. If I retire January 1st, 2025, my last day is December 31st, 2024. What is the first RMD due to be drawn out?
It's irrelevant what day you retire for the RMDs. What drives an RMD is what's your age. So if you are over the age of 72 or 73, I don't know which.
72 right now, I think. It might be 73 already.
It'll be the year in which you hit that 72, and you must make that payment by April 15th of the following year. So if you become eligible for RMDs in your 401k because you retired on December 31st or January 1st, and you turn or are already over the age of 72, then your first RMD must be withdrawn by April 15th of 2026.
Right. So you have a little extra time in the next year to withdraw it.
Right.
And
But here's the catch. The following year, it has to be done by the end of the calendar year, so December 31st. So you get a little extra bit on that first year, but your RMDs must be taken by the end of the calendar year for all future RMDs.
And if you are that age in 2024, but you retire on January 1st, you don't have to pay one for 2024.
Correct.
What's an RMD?
Required minimum distribution from your 401k after a certain age.
Cool. All right, well, that concludes our November 12th virtual retirement seminar. Once again, we want to thank everyone for being on today, and thanks for the great questions. We wish you all the best in the long road of planning retirement. It's a lot of information. Or short, yeah.
Before February 1st.
Instead of long or short,
Yeah.
complex,
Yeah.
we shall say, road of retirement. So thank you once again for being on, and we'll see you again on our next one.
Thanks, everyone.